Oh, welcome back. And this is the picture we are going to paint today. And I've just been explaining to the people in the room how I'm going to tackle it, so that you'll all have some idea how we'll go from here. The first thing is that it doesn't matter whether you paint the picture portrait or landscape, because the actual photograph is square. It doesn't matter. What you have to do is to be sure that you don't elongate the picture because it's portrait, or spread it out. Try to keep the proportions of the picture right. Right, so we have learned various techniques up to now. We learned wet in wet, and I'm proposing to do the sky. A sky, not necessarily this sky, just the one I can create. So that will be wet in wet. That will need to dry. While that's drying, I'm going to be putting in this shadow. Not this part here, just the shadow of this building so that I know where it is. And then that will mean that with the sky and the shadow, and hopefully everything dry, I'll then be able to do this mountain and these mountains here. And I'm not thinking I'll get any further than that today. Because, well, I've only got half an hour. And even though you've got longer, because you're new at it, you'll probably take longer than me to do it. So all in all, we should work out very well. And the next thing to do is to choose your colors. What you decide to choose is entirely up to you. I suspect if I tell you what I'm using, you'll use the same. That's okay at this stage. So I'm going to use, let me get this up here, so I'm not going across the painting all the time. I'm going to use ultramarine blue, alizarin crimson, which has just been put in, so it's wet. And I'm going to use a yellow ochre, I think. That is either yellow ochre or raw sienna. I can't remember which one it is. There is a slight difference. Yellow ochre is slightly opaque, but I'm not doing a lot of mixing, not more than 2 colors. So it's not going to bother too much. So I'm going to use those 3 colors and possibly a bit of burnt sienna as well, because you can get really nice dogs with the burnt sienna. So I've just wetted in my paint box those 4 colors: ultramarine blue, burnt sienna, yellow ochre or raw sienna, and alizarin crimson. And I'm only going to use those. Again, I've talked in the past, if you limit your palette, you don't say that's that color and that's that color, you go and use the whole box. Your picture will hold together better. It doesn't have to be those colors. The colors in your picture have to be harmonious. The way to get it is to make all the colors that you need out of the 3 or 4 colors you've decided to choose. Okay, right, so, I'm frightened. And it happens. I'm not kidding, I'm shaking. Okay. Partly it's white paper. So there's this great gasp, you know, I'm going to put something on this. Oh, dear me. I did see in one book I had, the person concerned takes any old color and just flicks it on the page. The page is spoiled anyway, so I might as well get on with it. Okay. So if it's a real hang up, you can do that. Just pick up any color you fancy and flick it on the page, and then you can get on with your picture afterwards. I don't think I'm quite as bad as that. Okay, so I'm going to make some ultramarine. Twisting the brush. Working the pigment and the gum arabic together so they're making a good color. Now, remember what I said, that dark piece there is not the color. The color is this piece here, okay? Now, because I'm working wet in wet, I need to know that I'm going to get shadowy colors that I want at the same time. So I'm going to mix two colors together. The idea of the 3 pots, by the way, and I never do it right, do as I say rather than as I do. You rinse your color out, then you make sure your brush is clean. And then you use the third one to pick up clean water to use your color. I'm going to put a touch of alizarin in that. I said a touch, dear God. That is far too violent for what I want. Too busy explaining to you. If your colors are wet like that, you will pick up a lot of some of the beastly colors like alizarin and what's that? Prussian blue. He's a beast as well. Right, now what can I do with that? Well, I can put a touch of brown in it. That's a brown. So it's got a touch, it's got a bit of all colors in it. That helps. Well, that's working. Right. So take a bit more of the brown in. Still a bit bullish, isn't it? Okay. Right. The big guns. Where's the yellow? Get that first. Going out. Better. Right. It's the balance of the blue. So we'll pick up a bit more blue. There we are. How's about that? We've got a grey. But it's a mixed grey. It's not black let down. So it's got other colours in it, which if you look at it, it's not a dead grey. I think that will probably do. Now, the other thing you've got to remember is the white paper is the white in the picture. So you've got to work it so that I'm talking to I don't want to put paint. Right, okay, so now I could, right, I'll do it this way. I'll wet the paper. And it doesn't matter if I go below this here, because that is darker than that. And when I'm going to put the paint on top, I can put the sky behind it and it'll be all right. I've got to watch that bit, of course. Sorry, people, I've got to watch that bit, of course, because that is quite bright. But you can watch these things when you're doing it. Right. Okay, that's far too much sky, but we'll get there. Right, so I'm going to put in some here. Yeah, so round about here. You see how it's spreading? I don't have to do that. Now, somewhere around here is the mountain. And there, I've got a hanky. This will do. This will do. This will do. I've got to, I'm trying the bit where the mountain is. Because I don't want it to, I want that to stay white paper to be the snow. Okay, that's why I've gone round it there. So rinse that off. By the brush. I don't need to pick up any water because I've got this color here. And I'm just going to float in. Pretty much where the shadows are. And a little bit around here. And these down here will be thinner and smaller than those up there, because they're further away. Now, let's see how that's shaped. There we are. I think that'll do. I think that'll do. Right, now how long did that take? A minute, yes. I'm not trying to do that. I'm just trying to do sky, a sky, any old sky. Bear in mind, when your picture's being looked at by other people, they won't look at the sky. They're looking at this. They're going to be looking at this here. This is the picture here. And the distance down there. Okay. Right. Whew. Well, we did that all right, didn't we? Right, so I'll rinse my brush. And think about that, that down here, because this. All right, I'll use my hanky now. Thanks very much. I can take a bit of this out here and try this up because I don't want it to escape over this side here. It's about in the middle of the picture. Margaret and I were having a discussion about this. Because this is orange, because this building is an orangey colour. Sorry, is that better? Because this building is an orangey colour, and even this bit is orange in shadow. If I use blue, when I put on the yellowy orange, I'm going to get a green, more of a green colour, and I don't want that. So the way to deal with that is to make this shadow in a sort of purple colour. Because if you mix purple and yellow together, you get brown colour. And this is sort of brown, so that's more acceptable rather than the green, because it definitely isn't golden green. Right, so I've got some ultramarine here. And if I show the brush, look, show. That was too dim. Try again. I'm too careful. There we are. I've got a purple there. Is that on screen, Rachel? Yeah. Yes. I've got a purple there. Right. So that's definitely more purple colored. That's just enough. And I need. I wonder how much of that I need. It's always better to make more than you need. I don't want it. Need a touch. This. See, that's too much. The trouble with this is too violent. Eek. Right, okay. So I can take it down with water. Make it less by adding water. Makes it soupy. Well, that's better, isn't it? Paler colour. Right. Sorry. That's definitely a paler colour than that, because I added water to it. Thank you, Rachel. Right, so I rinse the brush. Running out of places to dry it. Take all the water out because I don't want this to be a dark shadow. I just want it to be a shadow enough to say this is where the building is. And also, because I've been chatting, the picture has been drying, which is nice. Right, I've got one here. Oh, more clock. Yes, okay. Right, now then. This is what I'm after putting in this, because this is really dramatic, isn't it? This here. It doesn't show up very well, but there is a thin triangle there. This part is in the light, right? Right. So there's the dark triangle. This part is in the light, so I'm not going to put that in, but this part is in the dark, especially if I miss out those little differences. Okay, and then I'm going to bring it down here. Just enough to isolate this area here. Right, Mamma Mia. Get it right, Steve. There's the mountain. So this goes quite high here. There's the mountain. It goes high. It goes about here. It's not too. And that thin point comes down below the mountain. There's the mountain top. It comes down below the mountain. Comes down more than angle. Okay. Excuse me, folks. Well, I'm just trying to get it right. It's not really thin enough. It'll do. Nobody's going to get off his horse to look. Right, so, and then here, round about here, it goes straight down. And this part is all straight down. So I don't need to worry about that one. I've got to leave room for the bright orange. It's the front of the building. I'm happy for it to. It doesn't matter about the raggy bottom because this runs into dark across here. I'm not going to do that bit today. So this raggy bottom bit, I do fine. I've just got to get the proportions right. And the other thing that I need to put in is this roof here. Now that comes that way, about there. And it goes off at a bit of an angle. And it comes down to, yeah, about there, right? So I can use the whole of the brush. I can even take that across there because it doesn't matter if that goes over there. And I have to be careful that that angle and this angle are the same because bless its heart, it's the same roof. And it's a bit wider, so I might not have got it right there. I might have to. Sorry about this. If you get this right, then your picture will be there. So that one has to be more like that. Okay. Pardon? No. Okay, so there we are. Now, when I put the colour on the roof, I can lift that if necessary to make it more of a point. I can play with that, that's fine. Okay, so I've done that bit, and I've done that bit, and now I need to think about this bit. How are we doing for time, Rachel? Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Right. So we have the mountain here. No, don't touch it. It's still a bit cockered, so it's probably still a bit wet there. I'll talk about the colour then. We want to use the white paper to suggest the mountain. If I look at this mountain, some of these rocks are in the light. So we've got a bit of snow on top, and then we've got rock. It's catching the light, and it's a beautiful coloured, creamy sort of stone. And if you look at that, you can see that big yellow. Right? So we'll be using the raw sienna yellow ochre for that. There's a bit of these greys here. Well, we've got our grey for the sky, so we can easily put that in. Then we get bluer down here because there's a mountain range there. And then there's this, which is nearer, which is kind of got a touch of green in it, which is coming down to here. So we've got 3 or 4 bits of mountain to do. And the best thing to do is to take it slowly. So I'll get a thinner brush But I lose him in nerve. And I use a bit of the yellow ochre. Well, there you are, you see, wrong pot. I usually end up with 3 dirty pots, so I'm doing well now. Now, that yellow, if you can see it, is far too bright at the moment for the distance. I don't mind using it, but it's not right in that far distance. So, when I get a bit more, I don't want it too soupy. Oh, yeah, I've got plenty there. Right. I'm going to take a touch of this grey and drop it in. Just enough to dirty it off a bit, right? So I've dirtied it off a bit. Just mildly dirtier, that's all. That is mildly dirty compared with the bit that's beside, if you can see either. Right, so I'm going to start with this then, working on my mountain. And there's a light bit at the top there, and then across the whole of the top of the mountain is a bar, and then it breaks up a bit here. Okay. Now, into that, there's a bit of this grey here, around about here. And it's bled a little bit into there, but I don't mind, it helps. Yeah? And then we have this bit here. Comes down here. It's a bit. I'm actually drawing with a brush. Now this part over here, I've got this over here like this. It doesn't have to be exactly what is there, but something that looks reasonably accurate. You just want anybody living in Annecy saying, "Oh, that's our mountain." That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Now I can bring this a little bit down here. Now the next one is bluer. So I'll just take up the blue. It had a bit of the dirty brown on it, a bit dirty grey on it. So it's not going to be as blue as that. It's going to be a dome blue. Now again, if it runs, I don't mind. If one bit sort of gallops into the other, that's fine as far as I'm concerned. There's a lovely swoop round here. So using the brush all the time. Now it doesn't matter if I've got that bit wrong where it joins, because then the piece on top is darker. Okay, it comes all the way down here. And this is, again, you can leave bits out. There's a differently bits out from the actual mountain if you want to. You've got to watch yourself here, because that part here is roundabout where the third story of the house is. If you take it too far down, you're going to have trouble when you come to your building. It doesn't matter desperately, because it's in nature, isn't it? So, right. So the last bit, we want the ultramarine with a bit of the yellow, so we use this. You see, discipline's gone totally. Now that I think is too pale, much too pale. It needs to be darker. How do I get it darker? More pigment. I'll make this thicker. That's a nice hefty blue in there. And then twisting some of the green. How are we doing now? That's better, isn't it? Okay, so it starts up here. It is wet, but I don't mind it. This is practically featureless, this bit of green here. I'll take it down. Now, again, because the roofs of the houses are dark, it doesn't matter if I don't get this in the right place. I've just got to be wary of that shape when I come to it. Stop talking and get on with the job. Now, I don't want that to be too drawn as a line. So I'm putting in the colour. Wow, where is that? Yeah, well, it's round about there. I've got the roof anyway. This comes down a bit on this side. I can pull this down a bit here. But again, it doesn't really matter. That is, I feel that's too subtle. I can just make it a bit paler by adding a bit of water. But catch it, because otherwise it's going to creep up and give you a cauliflower. You don't grow cauliflowers anymore. There we are. So that's as far as I'm going today.